Alrighty, this is Little Wing. We're gonna start out playing it at 128 beats per minute because that's about the pace of the song. This is the Jimi Hendrix version. I'm gonna play through it one time. Just a quick note, this is tuned to E flat. So make sure your whole guitar is tuned to half step down. It's a standard tuning, but it's just a half step down. So here we go. Sped up a little bit right there. So that's the whole thing. Starting out, we're just gonna come up and bar across the 12th fret here, and we're gonna start on the end of 3 and just barring across the first and second strings here. So it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, hit the low E string, and then we're gonna do this little mute. Wherever on the neck works for you. For me, it works best up here. That's where I get the quietest mute. So it's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and. So all that together. 1, 2, 3, and. So we're doing a little hammer on in an E minor shape up here. So second and third fingers on the second fret of the 5th and 4th strings there. And hopefully I don't have to explain that to you. Hopefully you can just listen, but we're hopping across from the 5th string to the 3rd string here. So it's So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're gonna grab G, okay? And then we're gonna come over here to the 1st and 2nd strings to the high strings, and we're gonna bar across with our 1st finger there, and then we're gonna do a little hammer on with our ring finger over to the 5th fret. All right, so what that's gonna sound like all together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we're hammering on to the 5th fret of only the 1st string here. And then you can pick this 5th right here. Alright, so all together one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, we're gonna make this G shape here across the high 3 strings. So the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd string with your middle finger on the major 3rd, and your 1st finger barring across the 3rd fret on the 5th and the root note. We're gonna hammer on to the 5th fret with our ring finger, and then we're gonna play a G note at the end. You can either play the G note by just placing it on the 5th fret on the 4th string there, or you can just lift up your middle finger and play it open. So that's gonna be this part here. Alright, so I like to play it just hammering on to the 4th string, because then that way I can kind of brush across the high strings here and kind of get that Jimi Hendrix-esque sound that he likes to do, playing across multiple strings at one time. So when you're doing the hammer on, you can also grab the second string. So it's alright, and I'm doing all downstrokes here, as you can see. Kind of doing a hammer on followed by picking right after the hammer on. So the rhythm altogether is alright, so we'll start from the beginning and just go up to that point. Pretty much picking quarter notes on that hammer on right there at the end in the G shape, okay? If you're watching me, it's 1, 2, right? All right, so there's a little pull off in there, and it's kind of swung, right? It's not, it's, so you're hanging behind the beat a little bit, swinging it just slightly. It's not played straight, like it's da 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 da. Okay, with the accents so that it sounds kind of swung, and then we're gonna come over and grab A minor. So this next lick is going to be entirely in A minor. We're going to hammer on. You can pretty much just keep your first finger barred across the 5th fret here. We're going to be hammering on to the 7th fret, and we're going to jump across on the first hammer on from the 5th string over to the 3rd string. So it's going to be, and you can kind of drag the pick across since you're barring across the 5th fret here. You can kind of drag your pick across multiple strings, and you know, if you listen back to the song, this is the thing that Jimmy does a lot. So it's all right. So I'm just hammering on to the 7th fret with my ring finger, picking the 3rd string, coming right back to the 5th string, all right? And then he does this little sequence of hammer-ons descending, right? So we're hammering on and we're descending strings. I don't know how else to explain it. And so it's from the 3rd string to the 4th string to the 5th string to the 6th string, all hammering on from the 5th to the 7th fret. And again, it's kind of swung, so it's going to be right. So I'm doing upstrokes into downstrokes and letting the hammer on fill in that extra space. So it's swung, it's so it's just back and forth between the 5th and the 7th fret, upstroke into a downstroke, letting the hammer on fill in the 16th note, or the triplet space. So it's right? And you're gonna come down and hit the E minor. So you can grab the whole chord, or you can just hit the low E note, whichever is easiest for you. So all together, from that little G shape we did, it's going to be all right. went from the A minor back to E, and then we're gonna do a similar hammer on to what we did when we first did the G. And it's gonna be the same deal, bar across the 3rd fret with your 1st finger, and then we're gonna hit that 5th, coming over to the 4th string. We're gonna do this little walk up and slide up between the 4th string and the 3rd string. So it's okay. One more time. All right, so we'll go from A minor with the little hammer on, the high hammer on again here, to that little walk up. All right, so it's that should be pretty straightforward. After we do this little lick here down at E minor, we're gonna come up and grab B minor, come down here, bar across your 4 highest strings into this like B minor 9 shape. So my ring finger is on the 9th fret, and my first finger is barring across the 7th fret of the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. And you're gonna play them all together. And then we're gonna do this pull off down to the 7th fret from the 10th fret. So if you see my pinky, it's gonna be on the 1st string right here. We're gonna do a pull off all the way down to the 7th fret. So it's gonna sound like this. So it's kind of like a triplet pull off. We're pulling off from the 10th fret down to the 7th fret. And then you're gonna do this little turnaround here. Okay, so my pinky finger is gonna jump to the 10th fret on the 2nd string. We're just gonna hit that in a downstroke, and then hit the root B note again, the B flat note here on the 1st string. So all together, it's gonna sound like. All right, so you see how I did the little down upstroke, hit the pinky on the 10th fret on the 2nd string here. You're still barring across the 7th fret here and hitting the root note of the chord in an upstroke. So once again. And then we're gonna do this little walk down and grab the low note with your thumb down here and just kind of do this minor shape across the rest of the high strings here. The only string I'm really muting out here is the A flat string, my 5th string. Okay, so my thumb is on the root note, and we're just gonna walk down B flat, A flat. Okay, so B flat, A flat, right? Because remember, the guitar is tuned a half step down, so everything is going to be a half step down. So my 5th fret is really an A flat. Okay, so after this little lick, pretty simple. All right, one more time. So it's kind of like a minor dominant 7th chord, right? Because we're just barring across the 4th string here and just walking down from that B flat. And And then we're gonna come up here to the 7th fret. I like to just bar across with my first finger, and we're only gonna play the 3rd and 4th strings. And we're gonna do this little walk down. So I'll show you how this goes, and then we'll talk about it a little bit more. Okay, so we're walking down, but remember, just stay barred kind of in this little shape here across your 3rd, 4th, and 5th strings, and it's gonna be, all right? And we're picking all of these notes. We're not really hammering on any of these notes, and I believe these are just 8th notes. Okay, so it's pinky finger on the 10th fret of the 5th string, walking down to the 8th fret of the 5th string, walking down to the root note, the 7th fret of the 5th string. Okay, so da 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 da. Okay, so all together it's gonna sound like, so we're gonna do this little turnaround lick thing here next. Alright, so it's gonna be, and then we're gonna do this little E minor pentatonic shape walking back up. So it's gonna be, and you're gonna be keeping your first finger barred across the 3rd and 4th strings, right? And focusing on upstrokes and grabbing that G flat string or your 3rd string there while we're barred across the 7th fret. So it's gonna be, all right? So all together it's gonna sound like, hopefully that's pretty straightforward. This is the tough part. This is the part that I do a little bit differently compared to Jimmy, because we're about to slide some chord shapes, and he kind of hangs his thumb over the top of the guitar for the whole sliding thing. But I'm gonna show you how I do it, and I think it's just a little easier. I don't think it changes the song that much. So it's, alright, so I'm bringing my thumb over just to do this little low note slide thing he does from the 5th fret to the 7th fret back down to the 3rd fret, right? The G flat note right here. So it's, alright, so it's a little tough to grab at speed. That's why I like to just grab it with my thumb so that we can move on to these awesome little chord shape slide thingies that he does. So these are major 9th slides here. It's just a absolute genius move. So you have your root note, your 3rd and your 5th right here, and then you have your 9th on your 1st string there, and you're just gonna slide this shape up. Da da da. Alright, down to the F. So once again, that's da 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 da. Some of my fingers aren't working. Da da. Alright, so it sounds like this. Super cool. Hopefully you're catching the rhythm there. Okay, and then we're just gonna come over and do a simple C major to D major. together, it sounds like. And I do a little hammer on the C shape here, just on the 4th and 5th strings, right? If you know your basic C shape. Okay. And that's pretty much that for the ending of the song. He does, or the ending of the intro, he does the little at the end before he starts singing, and that's the whole thing. So that is just same shape kind of we were using earlier after that B flat minor walk down thing, hammering onto the 9th fret of the 4th string with our 3rd finger. Okay, coming down to our pinky on the 10th fret, opening up kind of through that pentatonic shape to keeping your 1st finger barred across the 9th fret there, coming back up to, 7th fret, coming back up to the 9th fret with your 3rd finger, and just kind of having that little chord shape here. It's almost like a D shape chord. So you have your ring finger on the 9th fret of the 5th string, and then you're barring across the rest of your strings on the 7th fret with your 1st finger. Okay, all together it sounds like. Okay, and that is the entire intro. So we'll play it really slowly. All right, so we'll play through this one time at 80 beats per minute, and we'll be done.